Well, since I screwed up that whole intro screen with whatever the heck that was, good morning, everybody. I'll redo that one when we do the post show notes here. Walter will. I'm going to send you guys the link so you can pull up the chat for Substack.
There it is.
Assuming it decides it wants to tell us we're live. Oh, there we are. Good morning, everybody, as you come rolling on in. Welcome. Welcome. It's Tuesday, which means it's Notes of the Week with Nick Paro and Walter Rhein. And today we're joined by another special guest. If you could figure it out on the title, because the title screen did some weird stuff, is we have Will Fullwood with us. A friend of Walter's, someone who I've been looking forward to meeting. And today I get the chance to. Will, do you mind introducing yourself before we get into anything? I know my audience may not know you. And I'd like to hear more about you too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. My name is Will Fullwood, like you said, aka Contraband, creator of The Contraband Wagon, where I'm changing the conversation on race. And that is the subject that I focus on, the subject of race. For the last 5 years plus, I've been intentionally creating live conversations on the subject of race on my Twitch channel. I moved over to Substack to start writing some articles as well and sharing some of snippets from my conversations that I've had through the years. And I met Walter on Substack, and he encouraged me to, get my writing out there. And now we're collaborating on writing together, kind of put the pieces together of white supremacy from different vantage points. And it's been really excellent experience. And now I'm here with you because of Walter again. And I'm just so glad to be collaborating with you guys. And thanks for having me.
Walter's a great connector of people too. I think I'm good at connecting and finding people, but Walter's really good at it too. I've met some incredible folks through Walter, and I can't wait to actually get to talk to you today. And I'm so glad he's the one who encouraged you on here too, to get going. He wasn't my encouragement, but he has been an encouragement for me through this whole time. And we get to do this every week where we discuss and recenter ourselves on some of the bullshit and talk about it aggressively, unapologetically progressive. Because I don't like regressives. I don't like the way the conservatives have turned into regressives or always were regressives. And I don't like where we are right now. So Walter and I get to talk about it. I'm glad you're joining us for the day.
Oh yeah, I got plenty to say too. I got a big old mouth.
Oh, yeah. I love it. You're going to fit right in with us then. Walter, before we get into it, how are you this morning?
Pretty good. Like we were saying, I just so appreciate seeing you guys. You guys kind of center me and help me kind of get back on top of things. And I talked with Oceana yesterday, and we were just getting kind of emotional. I mean, these holiday seasons, it's at the same time as I'm so appreciative for my family and appreciative for you and the wonderful Substack community. I also worry about so many people I know are feeling pressure to stay in toxic situations, and it just, it's just really, just whatever we can do to create like a welcome space where people can get a little break. It makes me feel better, and you guys are a big part of that. I mean, you guys have helped me throughout this. I mean, it's been like just a blessing to meet both of you in this. It's like you were exactly the people I needed to meet right when I met you. And so we're carrying it on, and hopefully we're making a little bit better world for all the people that deserve to be treated better.
Yeah. And I think we've all come into each other's lives at the right time for each other. I'm not religious, but I also believe that we can push our paths to meet where we need to. And sometimes fate is realish or real enough that I'm okay to accept that something happened for a good reason. And so we all met each other for a reason.
I think so.
And I think we're changing the dialogue in a good way. So let's get into it today, because It's going to be a good one. We have some good notes for everyone today. We were a little late and a little messed up. Nick slept in, and so things went nuts. So we are here though, and I am back. And we're not going to hold off today. So I'm slowly waking up for everyone.
Yeah, I know
Give me a moment. I'm waking up. I still got my first cup of coffee. It's the Eagle Jizz mug today. So if you're ready for it, go
You
have
should
some
give
Eagle
Will the
Jizz.
background to that. I don't know if he knows.
Oh yeah, Will.
that.
Do you know the background
I
to
know
Eagle
nothing
Jizz?
about that
Oh my
except for what I've just seen.
Yes. Welcome to the club.
Surprise! Welcome to our
Welcome to the
house.
club, my friend. Eagle Jizz is
I-
performative patriotism, and we call that shit out all the time. It's the wrapping yourself in the flag and carrying the cross and calling yourself more than all the rest of us who are real patriots and putting yourselves above. It's the big lifted trucks with the two flags in the back where one says "Tread on me, Daddy," and the other is an American flag with a line through it somewhere, and just disgusting. That's Eagle Jizz.
Oh yeah. Well, I
It's
live in
white.
North Carolina, so I know all about Eagle Jizz.
It also tends to come from white and creamy features,
Okay.
from specifically white features. And so, Eagle Jizz.
Cheers.
And so we're going to talk about some Eagle Jizz actually today. That might be a good starting point. I'm going to start with Will's
Awesome.
note today. I think I try and find a way to like move these together,
Yeah.
but they're slightly different enough today that this one might be actually this one might not be too bad. We'll see what I can do. We'll see what magic I can do. Let's see how this works. Normally I have everything like ahead of time prepared and like all ready to go. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. All right. So we're going to start with Will's note today. Will, do you want to read your note?
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll go into it.
Yeah. So I wrote that it's incredibly obvious in 2025 that some people are indeed above the law. That's why you don't hear that foolish line from anyone in the media anymore. It's also the same reason you don't hear the once popular phrase post-racial America. No one could reasonably believe such a thing exists at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's just interesting how sometimes we really push to get people to recognize that what they're saying is BS. But in other cases, the stuff they're saying just disappears. And it's kind of like, we don't get like that thunderous, oh, there's a victory for us. But it's like, at least they're not saying that nonsense anymore. I guess maybe it's just recognizing the way social evolution actually happens, where they're like not even trying to hit us with that bullshit about post-racial America. Like nobody's even trying to push that on us. So that's kind of good. I don't know how that happens. That's something to explore, I guess.
Well, I mean, I guess like for me, I was thinking it was kind of a bad sign because to me, it kind of means that like they already kind of they don't need to make the case for that anymore, right? We've already slipped into lawlessness in a little bit in various different ways, and I'm always thinking about that as somebody who actually attended law school, right, and graduated with a law degree and was taught all kinds of things about ethics and morals and the American Bar Association and the Supreme Court and all of these different institutions that has been proven wrong in recent times. And I just remember always hearing on the TV, no one's above the law, no one's above the law, no one's above the law, over and over and over and over and over again. And every single time I heard it back then, it just rankled because I was like, I know y'all are saying that because you are going to act as if you're above the law. And here we are,
And you sent me the note yesterday and I responded to it with a restack, which was my thoughts on that exactly is we're not in a post-racial America. We're in a regress to the most racist America right now. Like it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah. The latest news too, like and they're just doubling down again and again, like, because they're getting more and more desperate, and they just want to blame immigrants, which is just nonsensical, or anybody who's not, of the class that the law doesn't apply to, which is sort of like what Will's been saying. But there's always been that case. I mean, I grew up in, among lawyers too, and it was, and there are lawyers who are ethical, but then there are some that just completely use it to, like, oh, I'm in this business. It's like anything, there's people that are like, I'm in this business, so I know where the corners are. And then, I've talked to lawyers who make these risk assessments. It's like, well, here's what I'm potentially going to gain, and it would only be a misdemeanor. So just from a total mathematical perspective, it makes sense for me to break this rule, and the likelihood of me getting caught versus this is what the crime's going to be. So it's just like there's that huge gray area. But yeah, like just this idea of, like, they never intend, like the guy currently in the Oval Office never intends for the laws to apply to him. Not like never at any level, anywhere along the line, does he ever think that what he's intending to do to other people will come back to him. And so he's an extreme case. But then you get these scary people that know that they are going to be held accountable, and they're still in support of that ideology. That's where things get strange. Then we have that other group that's, like, well aware. It's like, yeah, they're going to screw me, and other people are going to be off the hook all the time. That's unfair. And we're so far in the fringe, we can barely even express our viewpoint, in the media.
Yeah, we're normal people.
Yeah, I have no idea what the abnormal people are doing. I don't know what the inner workings of their little cabal is like, and it doesn't really interest me that much, to be honest. Like, a cesspool of evil is just what I don't even want to think about it. Like, just lies on top of lies, and hopefully they'll just eat each other. Like, I mean, that's really all I care about. But in terms of, like, the law again, you're right, Walter, in that there's always been lawyers doing this or that, but what we really haven't had is so much overt corruption in the law. And also, a lot of the institutions have not been tested in the way they're being tested right now. And I've been very disappointed in the results, particularly about the American Bar Association, I have to say. The American Bar Association, it runs character and fitness tests for anyone who wants to become associated with the bar and actually practice law. And they will prevent people from becoming lawyers, for instance, if you have trouble paying your student loans. They will stop you from actually practicing law because of that, because according to them, not being able to pay your student loans says something about your character, right? But
which it doesn't. But
right. I mean,
we won't go into that part.
Right. I mean, that's a whole discussion about what they decide, reflects one's character or not. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of Trump attorneys, and a lot of U.S. attorneys and attorney generals and people are out here making a mockery of the rule of law through their reckless practice, their practice that is has been litigated as being improper. And while the courts are, to their credit, holding these people, at least in their opinions, they're being like, this is terrible, this is foolish, you shouldn't, you should have never done this, blah, 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 dismissed. And while some people have lost their ability to practice law in some states, I really think that at this time, we need to be aggressively going after people who are acting in a lawless fashion, blowing people up without any cause or regard, bringing frivolous criminal charges against people. And the list goes on and on and on and on, right? And that's why I related it to post-racial America, because, we had this whole long, we're overcorrecting, right? We're overcorrecting racism. We're in a post-racial America now. Now the playing field has been equalized. Everyone needs to just accept that. And now we've got people doing Nazi salutes under the color of a major political party. We've got people talking about poisoning the blood of the nation, quoting Hitler. We've got, like, all kinds of just white
a mini
supremacist.
Andrew Goebbels or a mini Goebbels in the office, just named Stephen Miller, who's a giant penis, walks around and is just lawless.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I mean, yeah, you're add to it, brother. Yeah, and you're right, Stephen Miller. I mean, that guy, his words are poison, and just purely bigoted and racist consistently. And he has a prominent position in the administration, and he's publicly speaking these bigoted words. That would have been something that a lot of people would have thought was not possible in the past.
Yeah. So, question on that actually, because I've been on this kick the last couple of days, is around the Hatch Act. And the use of the Hatch Act on either a civil or a criminal basis, and how we can apply that to put real-time accountability on folks, because Trump can't pardon civil offenses, and it comes with a fine. The civil offense, and yes, it's not the criminal offense. Like, I'd love to see Stephen Miller go to prison for Hatch Act violations, but until there's a leader in charge or an executive in charge who cannot pardon him or will not pardon him, it's not worth going after. He'll still be under the statute of limitations. That said, the Hatch Act comes with roughly like a $10,000 per violation fine if you're found guilty on a civil offense. As a lawyer or as a prior lawyer, someone who's practiced law and studied it, is it worth pursuing Hatch Act violations against these people in like number after number after number and accumulate them? Because one of the things that we don't do a lot right now, but MAGA does, is they sue the fuck out of people. They just sue people, but they do it frivolously. And we don't have to frivolously sue. We can win every time, because he's violated a lot of them have violated the Hatch Act multiple times, like over and over, and to keep doing it daily, which means we have ample proof to be able to say they violated it multiple times and continue to recharge them with the same offense. Is that okay? Do you think we should do that?
All right.
How does this work?
Here it comes.
You're a lawyer. How does this work?
Okay. Yeah. First of all, my legal background. I have never been admitted to a bar. I've never practiced law in any state except for under a student practice order when I was in school. Okay. So just FYI, I do have a law degree, did graduate from law school, etc. Okay. So
as someone with let me rephrase that. As someone with a law degree who has studied the law much more closely than I have, would this be a good or a viable solution for us to at least start holding people accountable in real time? Because even though Stephen Miller might have $10,000 or $1 million to pay off loans or fines over and over and over again, everyone underneath him does not. And they're just as guilty as allowing fascism and enabling fascism as Stephen Miller is by writing the thing and putting it out there, or starting a media bias webpage under whitehouse.gov/media bias, which is a Hatch Act violation for whoever is involved in that.
I mean,
what do you think on that?
I mean, I agree with your point, theoretically, right? But like in reality, I don't think that the courts are a good method to hold people accountable. That's like actually what I believe. I don't think that first of all, I think that imagining that the judge will actually find violations of the Hatch Act and rule to fine people that's a lot to assume, even if it's a open and shut case, a lot of times judges are going to be loath, and I think we've seen this even in these cases that are more open and shut, to actually move to true penalties, even if those penalties are civil and a fine, in these political type cases, right? And I think that while they've abandoned a lot of their other traditional ethics, like that one seems to be holding firm. Like, let's not get as involved as we necessarily could to kind of give other people a chance to rule on these issues or pass the buck somewhere else. And we've seen that happen in other court cases involving Trump. So I don't think that fining people is going to work, because these people have unlimited money, like you said, and even if not every individual has unlimited money, there's always another grifter. There's always another person who's willing to step up to the plate. You know, I mean, it's shocking to me to see these imposters step into these roles like attorney general, or like and then just completely shit the bed, in their jobs.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately you find someone, maybe they get scared, maybe they leave, someone else is going to take their place. So maybe we could like do some maybe it's like the equivalent of a pinprick, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd have the appeals process too, though, right? So even if you did get them, so they had to pay $1 million in Hatch Act fees, they'd appeal to the Supreme Court because they have endless amounts of money. They'd spend more appealing than they would than just paying the fines, it seems like, in some cases with these.
And dealing with all those cases would get really expensive. And who's going to fund that, for a pinprick, and so I think that, unfortunately, I don't think that there is a viable way of dealing with this problem through the application of law. That's like where I'm at. That's like where I'm at this point.
I'm trying to be as creative as I can.
Oh no. Well,
You're
there's
doing a
other
good job.
aspect of this though. The gatekeeper aspect, I think, is really interesting, because if they're not letting people become lawyers because they can't pay their loan, and it's like that exists in a lot of professional spheres. Like when my wife was getting certified to become a teacher, they evaluated her degree, that she earned in Peru, and said, you are not qualified to be a Spanish teacher because you didn't take like basic Spanish. So it's just like worked into every structure in the United States is the system that keeps, and teachers are overwhelmingly white, like other groups are not in among the teachers. They're kept out. And based on what Will's saying, I'm assuming lawyers are overwhelmingly white too. And so maybe the answer here in what we're talking about is just, if we get a couple activist lawyers who become activist judges who are then willing to enforce the law. I mean, the law is all written that way, right? You need a couple judges if you're like, I'm going to enforce it this way. And that, they change things. And then there's that decorum aspect of it where they're just like, well, this, the right is extreme. It's like this whole time they're like, you're practicing lawfare. It's like, you fuckers tried to overthrow the government. It's not lawfare. You literally did this. We have this. Well, that's lawfare. And you got people like Romney saying, well, it's inappropriate to prosecute a politician for their crimes. Bullshit. It's like, we have the crimes you're doing are abhorrent. So we need to have that social perspective change. We're just like, no, goddammit, we're going to hold evildoers accountable. But it seems like, as we always kind of seem to come around to, it's not going to be changed by 1 or 2 elections or 1 or 2 appointments. We have to change the heart of every American citizen. So we demand a country of integrity. Yeah. And it's a bigger problem, but at least, that gives us something to work on.
Yeah. And for me, that's what I think where the problem comes in for me is like, I want I know it's a pipe dream right now, but I want a lawyer and a judge to just do what the Constitution and the law says. Like the Hatch Act won't uphold itself. Treason won't charge itself. Things like this won't happen on their own unless we change public opinion beforehand and force it to happen. So like my thing is,
listen, Nick, I got to say one thing.
Yes, the Hatch Act might not work, but should we not even try? Like, listen, that's my problem. It's like we not you. Now, I know you're not saying don't try, but it feels like so many people are saying like, oh, we shouldn't do these things. They might not work. So let's just not even try to do it. Let's just let them get away with it for the next 3 years until the next administration, which is so fucking short-sighted, because if we don't prosecute anything in the time, there won't be another administration in 3 years. Like, so I'm trying to find like the most creative, non-violent ways to penalize these people as quickly as possible.
I see what you're doing, bro. I appreciate your creativity and your thoughtfulness. Unfortunately, we're not in a position of power to activate that, right? And the reality of the situation in the law is that there are many laws that are not just kind of picked up when and set down when they're not needed according to the context and the situation, and that's how the law has been operating for a really long time. So it's
that's it.
We also have to realize that, right? And so there has to be someone out there who is an activist lawyer or is a judge who believes strongly in the Constitution, upholding it. And there are those people out there, and they are doing good work. I don't want to dismiss all the work that people who are on Democracy Docket and
Mark Elias, he's doing good work.
Yeah,
and the contrarians are doing great work, and folks like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And they are doing good work. It's just I am disheartened to see that criminal prosecutions have not been more forthcoming.
Where are the state AGs?
I don't know how people think that we're going to recover from this, in terms of our justice system. Because if we're not going to hold these people accountable when they're transparently committing crimes, because of who they are, then we have already given the message that there are people above the law. That message has already been sent. So as the more time that goes on without serious criminal prosecution, the more I worry about how are we going to pull back from this. I think that the consequences of what's going on right now are much bigger than we're going to know for a really long time. And getting it back to race for a second, the post-racial America, narrative that I grew up with, right? I grew up, Nick, at a time where this was on the news all the time. People were saying it all the time. I never believed it, right? I was a black person living in America.
I was going to say, did you believe you were in post-racial America?
I mean, of course not. It was impossible. I mean, I'm sure some racialized black people believe it because, there are all kinds of people are having all different racialized experiences in this country. Everyone is not having the same experience whatsoever. So, but for me, I was experiencing oppression and discrimination consistently and seeing evidence of racism all the time. So I couldn't believe in a post-racial America. And now part of the reason I've become more active, Nick, is because the environment has gotten so toxic racially, and I think you said earlier, regressing to a race to the bottom, right? Where we're trying to get to the most racist, that we were, in the past. And I think that's a good way of thinking about it. For me, who has experienced racism my whole life, right? And was I able to drink out of the same water fountain as a white person? Yes. But was I discriminated in terms of housing, in terms of schooling, in terms of finance, in terms of interpersonal relations? Yes, and yes, right? So for me, it's more just the veil is being lifted for people who weren't able to kind of perceive the racism that already existed in the country before. And we have this enormous, powerful force that's trying to amplify racism, right? And weaponize it even more overtly than we've seen in the past. So the transformation of the language, right, along with our environment and the scenario is just something that I was noting at that time, and I wanted to put it out there.
I think that's great. And it's also a great way to segue into either one of our next notes. Today's actually, I think, going to be a lot easier to segue than I thought. And we're going to pull up Walter's because it is part of this not post-racial America. It's this part to regress to the mean racial America or regress to the racist racial America. So Walter, let's get your note. It's nice and short today.
Yeah. I knew Will was coming in, so I'm like, let's talk about this. But mass shootings are white supremacy. So are all forms of political violence. And this is that response to the tidal wave of the constant lies, where they're trying to blame the other side. And there's always the escaping the blame. And I think we just have to recognize it's interesting. This talk, we all want the quick response, a quick fix, but we really just have to sit down and do the work and recognize all these structures of white supremacy that we have to undo that prevent accountability for the worst people ever. And I just today saw something I hadn't heard of either. Somebody posted a TikTok video, I think it was. They were talking about the period in Texas called La Matanza from 1910 to 1920, where they were just murdering everybody Mexican that they for a decade. They were just, it's called La Matanza. They don't talk about this, and it's just like for a decade they were just murdering people. And then there was news, I think today or just recently, another black man got lynched, I think just outside of Milwaukee. That's never in the news, and it's just hidden. And I think it was this one I posted, and somebody posted back, they're just like, well, it's male supremacy, and it's like, well, other countries have guns, other countries have men, but only the United States has these shootings. And it's because it's only in the United States where we have this ideology of white supremacy that, just steals the humanity from anybody who doesn't look like a specific group. And then, even if you think you're safe and you're within that group, they're going to hit you with the one drop rule and find that as a reason to kill you too. And it's just this structure is there. And when I was talking yesterday with Oceana too about, the relationship between white supremacy and sexual abuse, there's just that ideology of domination, and it extends to patriarchal thinking. And, we've gone through this before. The number one most likely person to abuse a child is that child's father, and the most likely person to abuse a woman is her husband or boyfriend. And we're all, that's just hidden, that's all part of the toxic mind virus of white supremacy. And it's all being hidden by our, the guy in the Oval Office who wants to blame immigrants for everything. And they establish themselves as the protector, and they create, a false danger that then they can use to, exploit and kill and murder and torture. And so, this is just, it takes a long time for us. I mean, we're all conditioned to just not look where the real danger areas are. And we just, I think, have to just keep saying it, particularly when they try to blame the left. Every time there's another assassination or shooting, they always try to blame the left and use it as further reasons to attack us and kill us even more. And so it's just vital that we, are realistic about what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I don't, well, also too, like 90% of all shootings or even more are committed by white men in general. Like, it's not, yeah, it might be a male problem, but white supremacy is based out of patriarchal systems and a male dominant system. So like, I also think we need to take this further. Is this is one of the, you said it well, is it's a very American, like we have a lot of it. Is, yeah, we do. This is a very American problem. We invented whitehood whiteness the way that we think of it now. We are the original sin of this white supremacy whiteness that is going around. We're not the original, but like we're the modern original. The whole
Civil
US
War is still being fought,
Yeah, like Nazi Germany was based on the Civil War America. Like Nazi Germany was based on American ideologies of othering and hate and segregation and supremacy. Nazis were based on Americans. Think that, like, we have to let that sink in and truly absorb it, as especially as white folks, like anyone who is white. You have to be okay understanding that there is a line of hatred going through this country since the beginning. You have to be okay with it, because you have to be willing to admit that it happened and then learn from it. That's what makes us better. That's how we get past this shit, is we actively push against it. Like, we have to actively be anti-racist and anti-white supremacist. And that means don't commit mass shootings. Like part one, don't commit mass shootings. Part
and
two,
stop them and actively stop them, because we're just so tolerant. I mean,
actively stop them ahead of time. Like, it's not even about stopping the shooter itself. It's about stopping the virus of the mind that is going on right now. If we stop letting our children be poisoned by white supremacy, they would be less likely to cause mass shootings, period. Hands down. Like, if boys, especially white boys, were taught that they didn't have to pretend to feel superior or have a micro ego complex all the time, like, they wouldn't commit mass shootings. Like, it's really to be honest, it's really that simple. Is if we and then we can separate gun culture from just culture. Like, get rid of the NRA, that too, and
Right.
that's part of white supremacy. Because
Yeah.
the NRA out here
Oh,
ain't
God.
out here promoting black people getting guns, only white people having guns.
That's
I remember those commercials coming out about that
Oh,
with
boy.
Key and Peele doing the skit on black men getting guns, and I was like, God, that hurt. That hits
Yeah.
hard so accurately.
Oh yeah.
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 What are your thoughts, Will?
Well, actually, when I read that, I think I wrote a comment to Walter being like, "Oh, you reading my mind or whatever," because I had just recently written a piece about the Tops supermarket shooter in Buffalo. I ended up going through his manifesto and just writing a piece about that, different quotes and kind of identifying how white supremacy influenced this young man's actions, and his murderous spree.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very difficult to go through that and just to see how white supremacy had fueled his actions. And it was also interesting to see that he had a real anti-immigrant bias, right? He called them replacers, right? He was very much the great
Oh, yeah.
replacement theory, kind of wavelength. But then he kind of in his mind, it's very weird because in the manifesto you can see he's struggling with what he knows is reality and what he needs to be reality in order to commit this heinous act, right? And so he's like, well, at first I was like, he actually wrote this in his manifesto. Like, at first I was feeling a little bit uneasy that I would be killing black people who may not be criminals. But then I realized all of them are replacers, like just like walking himself through the logic to help him get there and to get to othering people to the point where he feels justified in killing them. I write about the severing of the empathetic connection that white supremacy breeds in people,
Yes.
that allows for these acts of violence to be committed so easily.
I love that you
Gosh.
mentioned empathy, just to cut in for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's huge. I think that's something Walter and I talk a lot about, and I focus a lot on, is the importance of empathy and guarding your empathy, but also being deliberate about your empathy and using it, and being empathetic towards other people, because it lets you see that others have experiences too, and they might be really similar to yours. And white supremacy wants you to remove that from you, because it wants you to feel like the slavers. White supremacy wants you to feel like you're closer to the slaver than the enslaved,
right,
as a white person. And it's been said really well in the US is that if you give white people a group to hate, they will make and demean and see that they're slightly better than, or consider themselves better than, they will go along with the slavers almost 100% of the time. And that's who the robber barons are. That's who our leaders are. They're slavers. They're just slavers in a modern term.
Who created a generational power that you're describing right there, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Will said another thing I thought was really great, where you see people struggle with their, this is the lie I've been told and I've been forced to believe, sometimes even tortured to believe this lie. And, it all comes down to, this is the greatest country ever. I mean, that's an aspect of it, this is what it has to be. And then that's fighting with reality. Go ahead.
Or eagle jizz.
Yeah. So, but it's like that. And that is there. And until we walk through, because there's just so many things we're trained to disregard. And what I said before, the father's the guy that kids should be worried about. We don't ever talk about that. We never talk about how toxic the American nuclear family is. It's a fucking mess. It's been a mess since, they talk about it in the 50s. It's like the suicide rate for women because they couldn't escape these horrible relationships. Nobody talks about that. We're talking about gun violence. We don't talk about, 2/3 of all firearm related deaths are suicide. That's just before we even start having reasonable conversations about this, we disregard, and as Will said, the reality that just doesn't conform to all these narratives. And it's only at this period in history that I think we're cracking through. We're like, okay, everything's fucked up. Rule of law is complete bullshit, as Will started us off saying. And we're just like, we have to crack that egg and look at all these places that we've been so forcefully and sometimes through trauma conditioned to not even look. But it's like, yeah, like cut the toxic people out of your life. Even now, people are saying, get over yourself. You have to go have Thanksgiving with your family. It's like, I'm not fucking sitting down with child rapists. I'm not going to sit down with child rapists. And it's like, the people get all shocked, but that needs to be on the news. People, you do not have to go. Do not go have dinner with child rapists. You don't have to do that. And we have to shout this loud. There have to be consequences for these belief systems, these horrible, horrible belief systems that lead to mass shootings, and it leads to suicides for our kids, and just all these things that are wrong in our culture are derived from that.
Yeah. And I'll move that over. That's, I think, a great point and a great way to segue actually into my note. White supremacy leads to people like Pete Hegseth and the ability to just unaccountably murder brown people in the Caribbean. Anyone who's not white enough. That's what it is. That's what they're doing. So I wrote yesterday, because the White House openly admitted it for us, is the White House is now openly admitting that on September 2nd, SecDef Pete Hegseth ordered Admiral Frank M. Bradley, commander of the U.S. Special Operations Command, to, quote, kill everyone, end quote, on board an unidentified Venezuelan ship. This order resulted in secondary strikes, killing all unarmed survivors of the initial strike. The White House is scrambling to defend this extrajudicial murder as anything other than a blatant violation of U.S. law under 18 U.S. Code 2441, war crimes, D1D. So Section D, subsection 1, paragraph D, murder. The act of a person who intentionally kills or conspires to or attempts to kill or kills, whether intentionally or unintentionally, in the course of committing any other offense under this subsection. One or more persons taking no active part in the hostilities, including those placed out of combat by sickness, wounds, detention, or any other cause. Pete Hegseth must be held accountable for the murders he is committing. I'm not calling them war crimes. I'm using the section of the law that specifies as war crimes because they want to call this a armed conflict, and that's what they're calling it, which means they need to fall under the laws of armed conflict and war. I'm not calling it that. And if I'm doing this on purpose, and Chris Goldsmith pointed it out over the weekend, who's someone I really respect, was we're not at war. Don't say we are. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to just go and correct every single thing that I have that says war and change it to something like extrajudicial murder or whatever the fuck it is. But we're not at war. It's not a war crime. It's extrajudicial murder. They're also not narco-terrorist boats. They're unidentified Venezuelan ships that we have no idea who is on board. There's been no evidence. They have not provided any congressional reporting for approval for the funds to actually do this, which they are required to do within, I think it's 60 days or 30 or 60 days. They're not doing that. They won't do that. And the double tap murder that happened and the double strike murder that happened is murder. Is anything, you cannot call it anything other than it was in terms of the laws of war and our laws, international and US, is if a person is placed out of combat due to injury and they are of no further threat, you can't just go fucking kill them. That's murder. It's also an illegal order, which means every single service member who is in that chain all the way down to the individual who pressed the trigger is culpable for murder and following illegal orders from the admiral down to whoever hit that trigger. That group, you are all culpable for following illegal orders if it is to be found that these orders were illegal, which I firmly believe they are, and I firmly believe the House and Senate will find them that way. And all of you can and will be held accountable for it. It's in your oath to explicitly ignore an illegal order and report it. You violated that, then that's too fucking bad. It's your problem. Actively stopping white supremacy means actively upholding service members, be them white or not, but actively upholding every service member from Pete Hegseth down for committing war crimes. The most predominant group of people who commit war crimes are white men. Like, if you think I'm joking, you've never met a white man.
Yeah.
You know, and
what do you guys think on that? Like, this is one where I like, we might not have to hold him criminally accountable yet, but the first act of this is he would be removed as SecDef. Like, it doesn't matter right away if he's held criminally accountable, because he would be pardoned if he was. Like, these things all have statutes of limitations for a reason, and we can use that to our advantage, where we wait until the current administration or any administration that would pardon him is out of office, and then we fucking charge the shit out of him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope that happens. You know,
I hope so too.
It was Mark Kelly, I believe, who, you know, was saying that he should have been removed after Signalgate, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, that everyone did call for his removal and it was ignored, right? So now he's murdering people, but like, you know, these are not the first murders. You know, there've been dozens of other murders before this. So I can't imagine that someone will be held accountable now. I hope you're right that in the future, future administration does hold all of these people accountable and to the fullest extent of the law, but I don't have faith in that at this point. Just because I've seen how the law operates up close and personal, even before all of this. And given what I've seen in terms of like just prosecutors making individual calls that are critical to people's lives, you know, like that change the trajectory of people's lives. And it could be because they have a bad day. It could be because they didn't like something that you said, you know, as a lawyer trying to represent them.
Yeah.
It can be, you know, I mean, they have all kinds of reasons and justifications and excuses for why they do and don't go after people that have nothing to do with justice, nothing to do with truth, nothing to do with upholding democracy or our Constitution. So it's hard for me to trust in a system like that. But I do hope that you're right, brother. You know, like, I mean, I met many good lawyers. I've seen countless good outcomes, you know, as well. So the system's not perfect. We all know that, but I do hope you're right that at some point in the future, we'll be able to transform it back into some kind of system that can create justice. Right now, it's not that. I don't know what it is, but it's not that. So, yeah.
The narrative part of this always makes me worried though too, because already I saw the senator came out, and I forget who, but he had a face of one of the senators I don't like, and he was just right away. He's like, "Well, why shouldn't we be killing these?" You know, and so then they're trying to win the narrative, and that really is upsetting. That's the sphere I work in, because the power of that narrative, you know, it seems nebulous. It doesn't seem like law, but all the people in the chat here, you know, it's like we have to just say it's murder. What they're doing is murder. They're killing people. We say that. And when we see these Republican operatives come out and they try to normalize shit. And I saw another one where there was this kid, the radio host, and a guy called in, he starts trying to normalize the idea of raping kids. And you see in various areas, the kid was just like, oh, they've done it. You know, we knew the Republicans are going to start trying to normalize their just indefensible behavior. Here they're doing it. But of course that's an anonymous bot, you know, or an anonymous caller or whatever. But they are always sending out the tendrils of these narratives, trying to normalize just repugnant thoughts. And we're way down that line. I mean, from a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 being the most corrupt, we're like probably mid to high 90s already. And we just have to fight back up against all these. And it starts by winning back that narrative, you know? Absolutely not. When the senator goes out and says, well, why shouldn't we kill it? It's like, because we have a constitution and we have to defend everybody's civil rights. And if we don't, we're living in just a tyrannical, oppressive, authoritarian, dystopian regime that's here to murder us. That's why not. But too often, these Republicans will say something awful like that, and our side will just be like silent. And so what we've been doing over the last, since this regime started, is find our voice to speak back. It's going to make a big difference. As long as we speak back, we hold them to accountability, even if it doesn't legally happen. The public opinion changes things, and we see that in that we're winning elections now.
And the public opinion can actually fuel legal action. We've seen
Yes.
it time and time again. So I do believe that the best thing that we can do is be loud about this stuff and make sure that people know that extrajudicial murders are happening. They're happening by people who are in charge of our country. And if we don't hold them accountable, then no one will.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And a whole big piece of that is like, that's the reason I brought this one up too, is like, we have to hold them accountable. And the only way we hold them accountable is we keep talking about it and we keep saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, we're just going to hold you freaking accountable every single time. And we're going to call it out, and we're going to call it out like it is. I call this as, like it's murder.
Yes.
Like we have been talking about, it's not a war crime. It has to fall under the image or it has to fall under the narrative of war crime, because that's what the law is called, and that's what it's going to be considered or seen as on like a legal basis. But we can call it what it is. It's murder. We can say it over and over and over and over and over and over until that gets into the zeitgeist. It's like why I keep saying that Trump is treasonous, and why these people are treasonous is because treason doesn't charge itself. Treason doesn't happen out of nowhere. It has to get 2/3 majority in the House and Senate. And to do that, you have to have people who are going to scream, this person is committing treason, until enough Americans go, oh, this person's committing treason. And then they pressure their senators and their representatives to charge with treason, because the only way to charge with treason is through Congress. It's a congressional ability to charge someone with treason. We need to charge these people with treason. And the only way we get there is by starting to say things like they're murdering people all the time. And the acts that they are doing are treasonous in nature. And so get it into the zeitgeist. Put it out there.
Say them at Thanksgiving dinner.
Favorite.
And say them, because we've been conditioned that we're not, these things aren't appropriate as for us to speak. And this is really where the fight is. In our own brains is where the fight is. Because we concede all of our best times for talking and all of our best arguments, because we've been conditioned to think, well, it's not appropriate to talk about these things, and it's not appropriate to talk about them in that way, or it's not appropriate to talk about these things here. Say it all the time. Say it loud, scream it, say it again, 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 again. And you'll start to feel better, because that pent-up frustration, because every time you sit down and concede, like, okay, well, this is what it's supposed to be like, because I'm not supposed to, in this case, call out my uncle for, being a pervert, because this is dinner. No, call him out. You shouldn't feel bad. That guy should feel bad. That's the guy who's raped kids. Get him the fuck out of there. Right. And it's just like, it shouldn't be that hard, but it is hard. It is actually really hard to change your brain so you start doing this. And I'm still in that process. I'm getting louder, though.
It's so easy for me at this point, man. I mean, I was at a birthday party the other day and I called Trump a mass murderer. Like I'm at a birthday party with like all these strangers, and I'm like just openly talking about it because, we got to put it out there, man. We need people to start thinking about what country they're living in. What country do you want to live in? Do you really want to live in a place that's being ruled by people like this? And what do you, I talked to someone at that party who was raising 2 kids. And I was like, we had a conversation about, just a real quick story with him. This is a guy I just met, right? But like, ultimately he told me a story about leaving a management position and kind of going to a new company and demoting himself because the company was asking him to fire people unjustly. And he couldn't bring himself to do that. So he left. And I was like, wow, we were talking about values, right? And how he really like lived his values for that, taking a pay cut, changing his life and this and that, losing his job. And I asked him about his kids, I'm like, and the values that he's going to instill in them, and the conflict it might be given who's in charge of our country and the values that they're portraying. And he says, well, whatever anyone else is doing, we're going to teach them our values, and instill. And I'm like, yeah, but this is not just anyone. This is like the president of the United States and Congress people and prominent figures in our society, And I was like, part of the reason I'm leaving the United States is because I just feel like right now, most people in this country are not in a mindset to fight back against what we're facing. I don't think that that's the mindset of most people. Most people are trying to just kind of wait and see what happens, trying to make sure they stay isolated and safe in their own little community or like whatnot. There is not really a nationwide, push against fascism right now. There really isn't, in my personal opinion. And so, and he asked me, he's like, well, what do we need to do to fight back? He's like, what do you expect people to do? And I was like, listen, man, you just having this conversation with me. You having this conversation with me, that's the bare minimum that anyone could do to fight back. And look, most people are not willing to do that.
Yeah.
And he had nothing to say to that because he knew it was true. In his life, he's experienced it. Me and him were talking there. Other people could hear, but they were tuning us out. Like even though we're right in front of them. And this is America, man. Like willful ignorance.
Yeah.
That is white supremacy. So I think that we just have a real uphill battle ahead of us to actually hold someone in a position of power accountable. The people in power don't seem to want to do that for whatever reason. And so, yeah, that's not really where my hope lies. My hope lies, Nick, with what you were saying earlier with the people, with our voice and building our grassroots power. That is where we need to focus our energy, in my opinion, because this is not going to be something that gets fixed quickly. It's something that's going to take a long, protracted period of power building and battles that will probably win some, lose some, until we're able to actually achieve accountability. And there's going to be a lot of sacrifices along the way. So I'm just glad to have people like you, Nick, and people like you, Walter, to collaborate with on this journey.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep us here just for a couple minutes longer if you are okay with that, Will. One, I like to make sure everybody gets a chance to sell themselves. And two, I wanted to comment on a comment in our chat from our good friend Eric, because I disagree with what these individuals would do if they did this. And it was that I won't give all the comment, but there are higher ranked individuals in the U.S. Navy. They're not happy at all. They're considering retiring. My response to that is that's the coward's way. That's the coward's way. To retire right now is the coward's way. I don't care if there is a threat of court-martial. It's your oath. It is your duty. It takes courage to do the right thing and to stand up to evil in the face of danger. Retiring is not courage. Retiring is the easy way out. It saves their pension. It saves their disability. It saves all of the things. You know what? Those won't be there on the other side when this administration takes over and tears all of our benefits away because they think disabled people are a crutch and a drain on society. They think the soldiers are just, and sailors and service members are pawns to be used in a game of Battleship. They don't care. So don't fucking retire. Don't let them retire. If you know people, do not retire. I don't care if they can make more money in the civilian sector. I don't care if they have a threat of court-martial. Stand up for your fucking oath. Take courage and do the right thing. Tell them no. But even the idea of venting that they want to retire, we have to. If we want to save this country, we have to tell those who are in the positions that can make a difference, such as admirals and high-ranking senior officers and senior enlisted in the military, is if you retire, you're a coward. Is you tell them that. Is if you retire right now, instead of saying no to that illegal order and giving your service members below you the courage to do the same, you're a coward. You're abandoning your oath. Guilt them. Shame them. Shame them into not retiring if that's what it takes, because it takes active commitment against white supremacy and against this behavior for it to stop. It does not take bowing out. Bowing out means you're giving space for them openly and freely. Do not retire. if you're in a position to be a whistleblower, and I know there's at least a couple of you out there through secondhand, fucking be a whistleblower. Your career will be saved. We will save your career because there will be the political will and the civil will and the capital to save your career and reinstate your benefits and your pension and undo the damage that a white supremacist like Pete Hegseth will do when somebody stands up. All the black people have been taken out of their positions, and all of the females have been taken out of their positions in positions of power in the military. Not a single white admiral or a single white general publicly came out and said, that is hurting our troops. That is destroying morale. That's not a political statement. That's the fucking truth. Stop conflating truth with politics. Start being brave. Start having courage. And if they're in the Navy, courage is one of their fucking key words.
Right.
And it means to do the right thing in the face of adversity, even when you're afraid. Despite that fear, you still do it. The fear of court-martial is not a good reason to retire. I had the fear of court-martial all the time. If I broke my NDA or I revealed any fucking secret information or top secret or any sort of information that I knew while I was in the Army, I'd be court-martialed. Did that make me stop doing my job? No, it just made me do my job better. So admirals, senior officers, senior enlisted, do your jobs better. Especially officers, it is your job to prevent illegal orders from getting to service members. And those illegal orders cannot be prevented if y'all fucking retire.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents, is don't retire. Don't be a coward.
You said it well, man. I mean, we need courage right now. We need it at the highest levels and at the lowest levels, man. We need it everywhere. And listen, if I can have courage, if I can quit my job and sacrifice getting a paycheck and start from scratch here and just throw myself full long into living my values, then certainly someone who has taken an oath can uphold that oath that they swore. So,
and courage is sometimes, it's not like we see in the movies, you're not like riding a horse and cranking a whip. Stay at your desk and protect the people that you're responsible for. And it's like we don't appreciate it enough. So thanks to all the ones who are. I mean, all the wonderful people here today. I know everybody's fighting hard. You guys are fighting hard. I appreciate you so much. So, and nothing other than a win is acceptable.
And with that, let's move to our final piece, which is where we sell each other and sell ourselves and how we get support. And we'll start with Will. And I didn't know, Will, I'm going to give you a chance to sell yourself here in a second, Will, but I didn't know you ahead of this conversation, and I'm so glad that I do now. I'm so excited to get to talk with you more. I look forward to future conversations with you. And from the sound of it is everyone in the chat has really enjoyed this conversation too. And the fact that we're willing to openly discuss these things, I think is a good thing. It's a good sign. It's a good sign that people are discussing these things. And we need more people like Will to say the right things and keep saying the right things. But it shouldn't just be on folks like Will. It should be on folks like Walter and I to stand beside everyone else and say the right thing too. But we can't do that without supporting friends like Will. We can't have Will out there in this discussion and saying all the things he's saying and the amazing work he's doing without the support. So go support Will. I saw we had someone just scanned the QR code as well. So fantastic. Like, go support Will. Will, how can people help you, support you, find your work? And what's the best way that people can support you?
Thank you so much for all those kind words, Nick. I'm privileged to be here, man. So let me tell you how people can support me. First of all, here on Substack, all of my articles are free, but obviously anyone can be a paid subscriber. I have over a dozen paid subscribers already. I'd love for you to join me there and support the articles that I'm writing about the subject of race and the conversations that I'm creating. Ultimately, Nick, my goal is to create seminars for people to actually have a space to deprogram themselves and decondition themselves from white supremacy. I want to cut up the legs from white supremacy. And so if you're supporting me financially, you're supporting that effort. And I'm very good at getting into good trouble, guys. I am quite tenacious. So the more you support me, the more tenacious I can be and get out there and hold a mirror up to this country, which is something that is very much needed. You can also support me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/thecontrabandwagon. I write kind of some behind the scenes stuff that goes on with my work. And yeah, I love my contrabandits. That's what I call my little group of supporters there. They're the OG supporters of my conversations on race. So thank you so much. And you can also, if you're interested in becoming a part of the work that I'm doing and a part of the conversation, then you can join my meetup group, www.meetup.com/racism discussion group. And that's kind of the first way that I started bringing people together in my local community for conversations on race here in North Carolina. It's been going strong for many years. We got like 1,000 members, and happy for you guys to join. All our events are posted there, and they're all free. Okay, so as you can see, I'm trying to make it accessible, but your financial support would go a long way in helping me if you can.
Yeah, go become a paid sub. Help him out. Help Will out. This has been fantastic. I'm gonna be like I always do. I'll be putting his note in and blasting out his profile and everything we did today. So if you're not a subscriber already, go do it. All 197 of you in Substack, hit that subscribe button in the top left corner and become a subscriber to all three of us. That's a free way. And then go become a paid with Will. Get him to 50 before the end of the week. That would be cool. Get him to 100 before the end of the month. Let's get Will on the bestsellers list before the end of the month, and see what we can do to help our community grow and a new friend of our community grow into a huge success. Also, I want his stuff to be available. Like, I want to learn how I can do better and how I can help more, and then take those skills and apply them. And so help make that a reality. Like, help Will make that a reality, and then show up and be a part of it with him. So thank you, Will. I so appreciate you being with us today. This has been fantastic. Shifting over to our next friend, Walter. Sell yourself again.
Oh gosh, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Like I said, it centers me so much. I've had just kind of an emotional couple days, and it always does my heart a lot of good to be here. And I just want to convey to everybody, it's like, we are definitely the fringe media, and we are not corporate sponsored. And over this weekend, I had kind of a thing come at me where it's like, there are efforts being made to shut us down. There are efforts being made to silence us. And it's because the things we speak are the truths that are prohibited by a lot of these established power structure. And it's just, it's like, I see a lot of names in this list already, wonderful people that are supporting me, and I appreciate you so much. I need it so much. And it's just, we need to keep going. There's just such a long ways to go. So just, there's a lot of corporate sponsored publications out there that are left presenting, but I find a lot of times those guys are the first to come after me too. I think they see us as a threat, where they're trying to maintain a kind of established order that doesn't work. So it's just make that deliberate choice. Help out the smaller creators like us. It's a huge help. And, I just think we need to have a 5-hour talk sometime just about like reversing the trend of toxic masculinity. Cause I'm just kind of getting started. I feel the emotions coming on already. And it's just particularly with this holiday season, the stress of the holiday season. And my heart goes out to all those people that I know that they just don't have the families that they deserve to have. And they had to endure treatments, and they've made themselves think it was their fault. It wasn't your fault. You deserve to be treated better. And I think we need to set an example to have fathers be better fathers for their kids, because your kids are born perfect, and all they want is your attention. Just look at your kids, and that gives you everything you need, And so just the more we spread that message and just encourage other men to just find that joy in your family and just being empathetic and caring for people, and set aside this toxic idea of you have to dominate everything. It's like, let's cultivate things. Let's build things together. And once we have a society that's built on that, all of our problems are really going to just go away. They are just going to go away.
Y'all
So we'll get there.
subscribe to Walter. Subscribe to Walter, my man.
Oh,
like
yeah.
my man's just like a modern day Mr. Rogers right now. Y'all better subscribe to him right now.
Oh man, what a compliment that is, calling me Mr.
Gosh.
I appreciate that.
No,
I lived in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood in college.
Oh, he came into people's lives and gave them love they didn't know was possible.
Yeah,
so.
man. And you were just touching my heart right there, man.
Oh,
so yes, sir.
Gosh, that was an amazing compliment.
Thank
Walter,
you, was.
go subscribe to the new Mr. Rogers. I'd rather be writing. Walter Rhein. He's artistic. He is creative. He's fun. He's hard to miss. Like you can't miss Walter's work because it's hard hitting and it's truthful and it's honest. And I love having these conversations. I've learned so much over the past weeks that Walter and I have been able to get together. So please, everyone, go subscribe to Walter, go support his work. And I would definitely love to talk about some more long form, just long discussion shows, like 2 or 3 or more hours. Like the Manosphere does it. Why can't we?
Yeah,
and so with that, join me in the making a new Manosphere, like one that doesn't suck, one that actually cares about empathy, one that actually actively confronts racism and intolerance and talks about chronic illnesses and is, as someone said in our chat, authentic and actually cares about what I'm saying. And it's just, this is me. This is who I am. I don't have a script. I don't pre-plan any of what I'm going to say, really, unless it's like, hey, I'm going to talk about this note. Maybe I should have a little bit to discuss about it. But like, what comes out of me is the real thing. And it's only brought to people by, or brought to you by, you guys. Like, I can't do this without anyone. Neither can Walter, neither can Will. Like, we are, as Walter said, the fringe media. We're the new media. We're
rebellion, like in Star Wars.
Yeah, we're the new media. We are the new kids on the block. We are the folks coming in who aren't bought and paid for prior to being on a media network by being in the spheres of power. Like, none of us are in spheres of power. Our sphere of power is people and the community, and you guys are that sphere. So come join us. Come join me at Sick of This Shit Publications to help support me grow this so that I can do more, so that I can be out here and saying all this all the time. And you guys all come back for more every single week. I see so many of you in the audience that are here every show, or as many shows as you can. I see you. I value you. I really appreciate you for coming out and joining us. And it shows that what we're doing is the right thing and that we're on the right track. And even if we might not be perfect right now, we're learning and we're willing to grow. And we're not going to be the ones who just sit there and say, I'm going to give up. This is hard. We'll talk later. It's hard, so we're doing it. Like, there's no other choice. I'm not going to live in a world where I have to tell my daughter she's lesser than my son. I'm not going to live in a world where I have to tell my son he's falsely greater than his sister, or falsely greater than his mother, or falsely greater than a woman in any other way. I want to teach my kids to grow up in a world where they are both equally available for a successful life. And that life doesn't hold other people back, doesn't hurt other people. So let's go join each other in all of this. And final shout out or call out is, if you know anybody in the service, if you know anybody personally acting active duty right now, especially if you know someone who is in the Navy and may get deployed, or in the Marines who may get deployed to the Caribbean, call them. Tell them you appreciate them. Ask them why they serve, why they join, what the oath means to them, what service means to them. But remind them through all of it that you value what they're doing. You value that they're standing up and upholding their oaths. You value their courage, and you stand behind them when they make the tough choice to obey or disobey an illegal order. When they make the tough choice to say, no, I will not follow that illegal order. That is the right thing. You have to remind them that we are there to support them, or they don't know to do it. People need that reminder, just like we all need it too. We all need that feedback saying, you're doing the right thing. You're doing good. Those hearts that you guys give us, the 100 or the 200 people who are in the audience, the 4 scans of the QR codes today, those are those little thank yous. Those are those ways of you guys encouraging us. Now spread it forward. So with that, we've stayed a little bit over. Will, thank you so much for joining today. I so appreciate it. I cannot wait to speak with you again.
Yeah, me either. It's been great.
I will be having you back for some more, Walter. So fun to see you as always. And recenter ourselves for the week. And
fortified.
As I say at the end of almost all my shows, and because it's true, and especially today, is let's stop being sick of this shit and let's start doing this shit. We got a lot to do, y'all. We can be actively anti-fascist and anti-racist by the little things we do every day. So go have a great day, everyone. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.